What up, and welcome back to First Strike here. We've got UFC 311. It's going to be a big one out there in Englewood, California. The Clippers Stadium, brand new. They're going to christen this thing with a UFC fight, and we've got two championship bouts on the line this weekend. But more important, we've got the Apex Predators of the Octagon here to give four early looks to cook the books. I've got MMA Jeff, Fanatical Jim, and Subhuman Gaucho ready to fire. We've got four dog spots here that we really are excited about. We were talking about it backstage and can't wait to share it with you guys here. We've got the boys. Jeff, how we doing? Just off a birthday. How was your birthday, Jeff?
That was fantastic. Another year older, still alive and kicking. I'm jacked up about the fights as always, and it's the first pay-per-view card of the year. So I think we'll see some action out there. Looking forward to it.
Pay-per-view indeed. Fanatical Jim, how we feeling?
Feeling good. Last week was a lot of dogs. We'll see what this week brings, but two of my favorite fighters, Islam Makhachev and Umar Nurmagomedov, fighting on this card, which a lot of potential action. Merab Dvalishvili and some others that have been fan favorites over the years. So exciting to see what's going to happen here. I mean, especially in title fights and guys that can really bring and really be entertaining. So looking forward to those fights and breaking this card down with you guys.
And of course, Sub Club himself, Subhuman Gaucho. Welcome to First Strike, Sub. How you doing tonight?
Good, man. Good. Happy belated to Jeff, of course. Yeah, man, I'm excited. It's a hell of a card from a fan perspective. I mean, from a betting perspective, pretty tough, pretty challenging, lots of chalk. But from a fan perspective, you got to be excited.
We will dig into the props come Saturday for the big UFC live stream. We're going to start around 5:30 on Saturday. To accommodate the around 6:15 start. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, let's get to work. Let's talk about these fights. Jeff's going to kick us off with a little Almeida Spivak action. And very excited to hear how we're going to get paid with this one, Jeff. Take it away.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. It's a heavyweight bout. This one lines up perfectly on paper. We got a similar height. We got similar reach. Slightly different ages, but we've got massive heavyweights coming into the ring. Should be a good fight. I'm looking forward to it. We got Spivak ranked number 9 in the heavyweight division. He's 17-4 as a pro. He's coming in off of an armbar victory over Tybura in round 1. Spivak, he's not the type of fighter that's going to stand there and bang with you. He's ultimately going to want to try to get it to the ground and grapple, look for his opportunities for submissions and ground and pound, which I think this is makes it for a great fight because his opponent likes to do the same thing. Spivak, he's no slouch in the division. He's ranked number 9, as I had mentioned. He's 29 years old. I think if he wins this fight and he wins the next fight, I think he's trying to break into the top 5 at 29 years old. He's on his way up into the division and possibly a championships matchup coming into the next year, 2026. We got Almeida, who's got an impressive 21-3 pro record. He's also coming in off a first round finish over Romanov. By a rear naked choke, which is one of his favorite submissions. He's got numerous of those on his under his belt. Almeida, he's got a lot of power and he's very athletic. He's got 7 finishes by KO and 13 by submission. Only 2 of those fights went to decision. The guy likes to get it done. He likes to get it done inside the distance, which I can certainly appreciate. Don't leave it up to the judges for the fuckery. He's the type of fighter that'll take you down relentlessly. And if he can't get you down, he's going to ride you around the ring until he tires you out. And then he's going to ultimately take you down. He tends to look for submissions first, and if he doesn't get a submission, if he doesn't get a hold of your back and get you in the rear naked choke, he's probably going to start with the hammer fists until you realize you don't like it, and then roll over and give your back up, and then he's probably going to jump on you for the submission. But I see this one starting out a bit slow, like a typical heavyweight fight. Almeida's probably going to shoot for some takedowns early, and if Spivak manages to get back to his feet a couple of times after maybe the first round into the second round, I think he's going to get tired. And that's when you're going to start to see Almeida pull ahead. I have a feeling Almeida's going to be a sneaky play here for a submission win. I think he's going to hammer fist. I think Spivak's going to give up his back. He's going to jump on his back, and Almeida's going to choke him out. I'm going with Almeida by submission at plus 130. Now, make sure you shop it around because I did see another book had it at minus 110. I got the minus 130 at Bet Online. So make sure you shop it around, but I'm rolling with Almeida by submission at plus 130. Which brings us to the next one I'm excited to hear about. Sub Club's going to give us Dariush versus Moicano. Sub, how are we getting paid in this one?
It's a fun lightweight battle here. Two veterans of the octagon, that is for sure. They've really fought a who's who. Moicano, starts out as a featherweight, has had quite a run at lightweight. On a 4-0 win streak coming into this one. 3 of those 4 wins by finish. I bet against him last time a little bit regrettably with Benoit Saint Denis, and that was really, I think, one of his highlight performances of his career at this weight class. Really came in great game plan. Was able to catch one of BSD's kicks early on. Really made a mess of his face. Cut him up in that first round and had a little trouble in that second round, but fight had to be stopped, of course. BSD's face was mush, and that was that. So Moicano, quite a run. Dariush, on the other hand, has been struggling a little bit. He's coming off of 2 knockout losses, and he's taken about a year off, but he's had quite a stay in this top 15 of the UFC lightweight division. So I tend to think this is a pretty darn even fight. Despite coming off those 2 knockout losses, I think Moicano's a little bit chinny too. I don't know who I think, in the end you can say is more chinny with any degree of certainty. And Dariush, I think, ultimately carries a little bit more power. So in the end, I think I give more knockout equity to Dariush. Moicano does throw some great combinations. There's a lot to like about his game, but I don't think he can get the grappling going in this one. Benny, in the end, I do believe is the better wrestler. I think he can keep this on his feet if he wants to. I think he can take it to the ground if he wants to. So I think that gives Dariush a bit of an advantage in a fight where he's coming in as an underdog. I think he should be a pick'em, maybe even a slight favorite. So I am rolling with Benny Dariush in this one. And, kind of going along with that shittiness of both guys, I do think this could probably be a violent fight. Wouldn't shock me if there's a submission involved, but I think somebody can probably get knocked out. So come Saturday, I'll likely be on the under 2.5, or maybe even just pay up for the fight doesn't go the distance, because I think we see a violent lightweight fight here. But all that said, give me Benny as a dog. And let's move on to this next one. We've got Guskov versus the newcomer in Ekalena. Where are you headed in this one, Mike?
Woo-wee, 2 dogs to get this thing rolling. I'm excited about this one with Guskov and Ekalena, because I think I'm going to take a page out of our guy, Fanatical Jim, and his playbook here. We've got a short notice opportunity for Ekalena to come in here against Guskov. There is zero question that Guskov is a killer. Look at this guy and the way that he goes out and battles these boys. Oh, man, he's got 7 of his last 8 fights ending in the first round. He's got back-to-back knockout W's, and he's just a big, mean dude. Thing is, he was expecting Johnny Walker in this battle, and, the deal with that is you go out there, you're looking not to go the distance, you're looking to crush him early, you're going to go stand and bang, try to figure this thing out, and someone's going out on their shield. That means that I think from a corrective opportunity, we look over on the other side, and we see Ekalena. Guy's a southpaw stance. He's definitely comfortable switching stances, and he hasn't fought in a while. But look, I got to go back to some relevant battles for this guy. And PFL 7 gets to the semifinals. He goes out there, he beats Chuck Campbell in a split decision. And he's a really he's a methodical fighter. Kind of gives a left jab, a midsection kick, and as soon as he starts to get a little combat coming the other way, he pushes him up against the cage, and he just kind of cheese grates him until the refs come out there and they break it up and put him back to the center. If he gets touched up, he goes to the clinch. That leads us to the tick, 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 tick. And he's got a decent takedown defense, so I don't expect him to go to the ground. I do expect there to be that opportunity where they are punching and they're draining this clock down. He's a confident fighter. Again, likes the slower pace, and he's not afraid to kind of drain this clock and wait and see what happens. Disappointing for him in that PFL 7. He goes out there, fights Jose Pineda. Guy missed a weight cut. What are you going to do? You're fighting for $1 million. The dude misses weight cut. So be it. Pineda goes on there to beat Bubba Jenkins as well. And so he gets the championship. So no harm in losing to the overall champion of that PFL. Look, this is a U.S.-driven fight. We're in America. They're in Los Angeles. There's going to be a lot of screaming and chanting for the American versus the Russian. And back to the gym point of things here, when you've got a late minute fighter coming in and you haven't prepped for them, what do they usually spend the first round doing? Well, they spend the first round filling each other out. Little chess match. Let's see what this guy's going to do. Let's see what that guy's going to do. And, I've been kind of pioneering this. Everyone thinks the fight's going to end early and it ends up going deep. I don't know that this one goes deep, but I do know that, Elikana will kind of slap and tickle, and then he'll back up a little bit and he'll wait and see how you're going to react to it, and potentially in a Guzkov spot of this thing. So the way I'm going to go with this fight, I think they will spend that first round feeling each other out. Obviously, the KO spot looks really tasty, but over 1.5 rounds for the shortcoming notice here, not being able to prepare for it, gives me Elikana over 1.5 rounds. And if we get to the deep waters, we might even see Guzkov gas tank short out on him here. But 155 for the over 1.5 rounds is just too good a value for me to pass up, given that they didn't spend a lot of time prepping for each other. Let's see them figure this thing out methodically, put them up against the cage, drain some clock. Let's get into the second round. And all we need to do is see 2:29 left on that clock in round number 2, and we're going to get this cash at plus 155. So speaking of borrowing pages from our guy, Fanatical Jim, he's up, and he's going to talk to us about a big battle here with Reese and Bakoyev, and I can't wait to hear how he breaks this thing down.
Well, thanks, Mike. And we have another last-minute replacement fight. You have Zach Reese against Bakoyev. Bakoyev, the current LFA middleweight champion. Short notice replacement signed a few days ago by the UFC. And Zach Reese was supposed to verse Cedric Dumas, and now he's taking on Bakoyev. So this line opened at a number that I was confused about. Zach Reese opens up as a plus 210 underdog. So a week ago, Zach Reese was around a minus 230 favorite against Cedric Dumas, right? So that's a 400 cent, $4 move in a week, right? So I could see maybe if Bakoyev was, Roman Dolidze or something like that, where it's like, yeah, maybe that's justified. But I had to go back and look and say, okay, well, maybe this guy's legit. Let me look into some tape. And I've seen this guy fight. Obviously, he's been around the LFA for quite a while. He has good takedown offense, like grappling offense. He can take the fighters down. He can hold them down. So he's good in his grappling game. I think his striking defense is a little bit suspect. I think his striking is decent. He has a really bad gas tank, though. His cardio is really bad. Watching the Dylan Butka fight, it went to a split decision only because he gassed out. Same thing with Chauncey Foxworth, his previous fight. He was doing well striking, eventually knocks him out in the second round, but he was huffing and puffing in that fight. Chauncey Foxworth, and I'm going to go back to the odds here, right? So who knows Chauncey Foxworth, right? Like, raise your hand. Not a well-known name. Now, he was the previous opponent of Bakoyev, and Bakoyev was a minus 275 in that fight. Now, he knocks him out in the second round, but Chauncey Foxworth, he's been around the block. He's a seasoned veteran. The thing is, anytime he faced a level of competition UFC worthy, he would lose in the first round. I'm thinking about Sean Brady, Basil Hafez. There were a few other fights where Chauncey Foxworth went in there and lost easily, right? So Foxworth's 34 years old, so I'm not putting too much stock into that, but he was a minus 275, Bakoyev. He's a minus 210 in this fight. Against Zach Reese, and I like Zach Reese. I think Zach Reese has shown promise. He's shown potential. He's an exciting fighter. He's a guy that will fight for your money. I think his one bad loss, well, his only loss was against Cody Brundage, right? We that slam that happened. It was 2 slams back to back in that card. And it wasn't a great look. I mean, Cody Brundage, and if you looked at the fight, Zach Reese had Cody Brundage in a triangle choke. Brundage was able to lift him up, dropped him on his head in a perfect spot that knocked him out cold. I think if Reese would just tucked his chin in, he gets a submission win in round 1 against Cody Brundage. But the rest is history there. He lost. Now, losing that way, you could have just threw up your hands and said, I'm embarrassed. That sucked. I trained just to get knocked out that way. And then his career could have been over. Instead, he has one of the cleanest knockouts I've seen in a while against Julian Marquez. 20 seconds into the fight, he uppercuts this guy clean, knocks him out. He then takes on Jose Medina. Medina's a very tough guy, right? It's very hard to get him out. He gets a decision win, but it was a unanimous decision. I mean, he takes him down 5 times. He looks dominant in the fight. He's thrown up submission attempts. When Zach Reese, one of those things, right, is he's very active. So in this fight, if Bakoyev, let's just say Bakoyev takes Reese down, I think Reese is going to throw up sub attempts. He's going to try to scramble. He's going to try to throw strikes. He's going to try to pressure Bakoyev. And Bakoyev, when he gets pressure like that, his cardio zaps. And, I think people are looking at this, or maybe look at Reese as a round 1 fighter or bust. I think can easily go more than 1 round. And I think he'll be successful in this fight. So that's why when I looked at this line, I was confused. I assumed this was going to be maybe a minus 130 or minus 125 for Bakoyev. Let's take this fight and drop into LFA, right? What happens? Jeff and I talk about this all the time. For whatever reason, the UFC, the books are just inflating UFC odds. This fight is not a minus, what is it now, minus 230 or something like that, or minus 210. It is not that in LFA. You're telling me a 9-1 fighter who's 3-1 in the UFC going into LFA for the middleweight championship's going to be a plus 180? There's no way. So I think all the values on Reese here. I'm taking Zach Reese at plus 180 on FanDuel. let me give you some closing thoughts here in terms of odds and trends. So last year, debuting fighters with no Contender Series experience, 8-16, minus 16 units. Oh, I'm sorry, 8-26. I'm sorry, 8-26 minus 16 units. So 8-26. Now you might say, okay, that might be a lot of dogs. Okay, yeah, it was. So let's look at favorites. Favorites that were under minus 300, because once you go over minus 300, it's a different story. So we'll focus on under minus 300. 2-5, minus 3.5 units. Any fighter, or the 2 fighters between the minus 200 and minus 299 range where Bakoyev is today, 0-2. So the trends are telling you this is not a good bet to bet on the favorite. The tape is telling you this is not a great bet to bet on the favorite. And not to mention, Bakoyev was signed a week ago, was told, get your coaches, get your contract signed, start cutting weight. It's like, you have a week. He's going to Los Angeles in front of 20,000+ people. This is a huge moment for him. It's going to be a huge adrenaline dump. I just don't trust the spot. Take the dog here, plus 180, and move on. So, Mike, why don't we recap and go over the rest of the fights?
And there you have it, boys and girls. 4 big dogs here to kick off UFC 311, the first numbered card of the year. It's going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully you guys enjoy this breakdown. Please hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you catch us on Saturday, 5:30 p.m. for the big UFC Saturday show. We're all excited about this card. Can't wait to see you guys there. Enjoy. Good luck.